Hey guys, this is Matt Horner here with Sports Mockery, getting you guys set and ready to bet on NFL Week 7. First, we're going to take a look at the early lines with value for NFL Week 7. As you know, odds makers quickly look ahead to the next slate of games after Sunday's games are played. So we're going to take a look at the early numbers and try to get you the best number possible from some of these games. A lot of these games we're going to talk about, their numbers, maybe don't make sense. Some of them do make sense, but we're going to tell you right now to grab that number while you can before it goes up or it goes down. So, last week, we several games that I put in early. The Bengals, I know was one of them against the Colts. They were up 21-0, and I was like, wow, this was a fantastic bet for me. Of course, they came back. The Colts came back and they won that game. But they didn't win it by 9. 9 points was the line in that game. And to me, the Colts just are not a team that anybody should be laying 9 points with. Their offense is just not good. Phillip Rivers, to me, looks kind of cooked. So there's no way I was laying 9 points at that line. I think it went down to 7 because the Bengals did take some money, just like I thought they would. So it got down to 7 in that game. Some other games, the Ravens and the Eagles last week. I wasn't going to lay the points with the Ravens. I did the week before against the Washington football team because the Washington football team is broken. And I got that line early at 13, and they ended up winning by 14. So I didn't push. I won that bet because I got the line early. It went to 14 later in the week. Best thing you can do is look at these lines as early as you possibly can. Grab the number while you can. Some of these games, you got to grab them early because the line is going to move and then you're going to get the worst number and stuff like that, like last week could happen. This week, I took the Eagles getting the points against the Ravens because the Ravens really haven't looked that great overall to me. I know they're still winning games, but they really haven't looked like the team that we were used to seeing from previous years past. Lamar Jackson is the problem throwing the football. But we're going to take a look now at some of the games coming up here in week 7. I just wrote this article the other day on some of the early lines from week 7. So the first game I want to discuss here is the Detroit Lions traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Now, in this game, the Falcons are 3-point favorites. Detroit's getting 3, total of 56.5. So obviously the people think this is going to be a monster scoring game. I can't blame them there because both of these defenses are questionable at best. Atlanta's defense is hot trash. So the look ahead for this game was Atlanta -1. It's gone up to -3 after the game they played against the Minnesota Vikings, where they beat Minnesota in Minnesota. To me, that doesn't. I mean, the Lions went out and beat the Jaguars 34-16. The Jaguars are a terrible team. We know that, but so are the Minnesota Vikings. People, I don't think, still can get it through their head after the success the Vikings have had over the previous years that the Vikings are not that team. They are not a good football team. they are 1-5 for a reason. Their defense is atrocious. And the Falcons now favored by 3 points. Just neither one of these teams really are that much different to me. They're pretty much even. So in a case like that, I almost always take the points. And as I was saying here, I know Dan Quinn was the head coach of the Falcons for most of this. He's not going to be there to lose as a favorite this time. But Atlanta, over their last 52 games that they have been favored in a matchup. They are 18-34 as the favorite. There is absolutely no way I am going to lay points with the Atlanta Falcons at any point this season, unless they're facing like the New York Jets. There is no way. Especially against a team like the Lions, who are pretty much even to them. I don't really see that much of a difference between these two teams. I think Detroit is the better team here, to be honest with you. So at this one, +3, I really think this line is going to go down further, and it's going to be closer to a pick'em towards game time on Sunday. So to me, I would take Detroit here +3 because I think it's just going to get lower. So go with the Lions in this one. Then we got the Thursday game, the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles here. The early line, Philadelphia laying 4 against the New York Football Giants. This is 44.5 total. So this is a game that's going to be one of the lowest scoring games projected of the week. The Eagles on the look ahead were 7.5 point favorites going into Sunday action. Now, -4 after the Eagles hung with the Ravens. They had a good game in there. To me, this line is kind of crazy and doesn't make much sense to me. The Giants barely beat the Washington football team, and the Washington football team is really bad. I mean, they, to me, look horrendous. They look completely out of sorts. They don't know what they're doing at the quarterback position. Um, the football team is just awful, and the Giants barely, barely beat them. The Eagles have shown resiliency lately. They have hung with the Ravens. They went and they beat the 49ers. They have shown that their offense can work. They have an offense that can put up some points and an offense that can work. Granted, I feel this moved down because of the injuries to Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz. But to me, the Eagles still, I mean, they have had so many injuries. I mean, it's really quite ridiculous the amount of injuries that the Philadelphia Eagles have suffered. But to me, in this game, there is no way that I will trust the Giants. Just, I'm not doing it. Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. I mean, it's as simple as that. He is just a walking turnover on the field. And the Eagles, under a touchdown, to me, looks great because they have played really well the past few weeks. Their defensive line is still really good. Um, to me, there's just no reason that you shouldn't take Philadelphia here -4 because I think that's going to go back up to a touchdown. It could very well go higher in the week because what reason have the Giants given anybody to take them? They can't score, and they barely beat the Washington football team. Take the Eagles here -4 under a touchdown. I mean, that's good. That is great value right there. I think they easily win that game. Cleveland Browns at Cincinnati Bengals. So here, this is a game that is really interesting because Cleveland and Cincinnati, obviously, they're in-state rivals in Ohio. Total of 51, so not much faith in the defenses in this game, and I don't really blame them. The Browns, oh man, let me tell you, they were awful against Pittsburgh. Baker Mayfield is, to me, what is holding that team back. He has not been good. And this team needs to run the football if they are going to win football games. I mean, that's the end of it. Baker Mayfield is a game manager quarterback. He's not going to be anything more than a game manager quarterback. He's not going to be a superstar. They need to run the ball. And the look ahead had the Browns as 5-point favorites against the Bengals, now down to 3.5. So the Bengals were up 21-0 against the Colts, yes, but they ended up losing 31-27. The injury report for this game is going to be huge for the Cleveland Browns. Last week going into that game, I mean, Baker had that rib injury. You had Odell Beckham was sick. Jarvis Landry's banged up. I mean, we need to see the injury report for this game. So until the injury report comes out, I wouldn't place a bet on this game yet. But it is still fairly interesting here because Cleveland for sure is the better team. They're the better team overall than the Bengals. The Bengals, they've been way more competitive than they were last season. Joe Burrow has a promising future, but the Browns defensive line going up against that terrible Bengals offensive line. I mean, I feel so bad for Joe Burrow. And honestly, I'm afraid that the Bengals are going to ruin Joe Burrow with the lack of help he has. Like, he is getting pummeled game after game. The offensive line is the worst in the NFL. And they need to get him some protection because I'm just seriously afraid the Bengals are going to ruin that man. The Browns defeated Cincinnati 35-30 earlier this season. I would lean towards the Browns here in a bounce back spot. I do feel like the line could move up. So if you like Cleveland, I would take them. Try getting them 3.5. Try getting them at 3. But Cleveland 3.5 is probably the best you're going to get. I don't see this line going down further unless the injury report comes out and it's bad for the Browns. So when the injury report comes out for the Browns, look at that. And if there's a bunch of injuries, a bunch of people are questionable, Cincinnati might take some money here. So definitely look at the injury report for the Cleveland Browns when that comes out. Jacksonville Jaguars at Los Angeles Chargers. This one really doesn't need much explanation, honestly. The look ahead was Chargers -6. It's already up to -7, and it's going to go higher. The Jaguars are a awful football team. Jacksonville has lost 5 straight games after that shocking Week 1 win against the Colts. They've allowed 30-plus points in every one of those games. Justin Herbert is going to light the Jaguars up. He is at home. They are clearly the more talented team. Jacksonville is just really bad. I mean, they're abysmal. And Herbert's been outstanding. And the only thing that's really going to get this game to be any sort of sweat for people who are going to lay the points with the Chargers is Gardner Minshew has that rare game where all of a sudden this guy could be a franchise quarterback. I assure you, he is not. We have all seen what Gardner Minshew is. He is a younger version of Ryan Fitzpatrick, if you ask me. You had that game earlier this year, the beard versus the stash or whatever. He's a younger version of Fitzpatrick, and he's a worse version of Fitzpatrick and younger. He's just so inconsistent. But there is no way I am taking the Jaguars. No way. Great number to grab with the Chargers. Get them -7 because it's just going to go up further and further. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers be double-digit favorites by the end of the week. Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints. So for this one, I mean, New Orleans is laying 7.5. Carolina's getting 7.5. 51. I see blowout potential in this game. And it's not because I think the Panthers are a terrible football team, but I think they've really been overrated recently. We saw our Chicago Bears take the Panthers down. Teddy Bridgewater had his worst game of the season by far against the Bears. The Bears defense is really good, granted. But Michael Thomas is going to come back for the Saints after his injury and his suspension for fighting with a teammate. So he's been out, but he's coming back. He's Drew Brees' favorite target. He's his security blanket, Mr. Slant. We know all the jokes about that. The Panthers are one of the worst defenses in the NFL against the run, despite the Bears never being able to run the football. They are terrible against the run. So expect Alvin Kamara to absolutely light this Panthers defense up. And I fully expect New Orleans to win this game, probably pretty handily. They're coming off a bye week. They're at home in the Dome. Carolina still doesn't have Christian McCaffrey back. 7.5 is a lot to lay, especially with a team in Carolina that is 3-3. They're not one of the worst teams. But I would take New Orleans. 7.5. It might go lower, but if you can get New Orleans under a touchdown, definitely take that. No question. If you can get them at 7, I would take that. Because I don't think this game is going to be particularly close. Pittsburgh Steelers at Tennessee Titans. Game of the week here, bar none. 2 undefeated teams going at each other. This was the game that was canceled earlier in the year due to the Tennessee Titans COVID outbreak. 5-0 Pittsburgh traveling to 5-0 Tennessee. Somebody's going to leave here with a loss. So Derrick Henry is going against the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense is number 1 DVOA against the run. They pretty much stop everybody running the football. Derrick Henry had 212 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Texans running defense, which is the exact opposite of the Steelers, the worst rushing defense in the NFL. So this is going to be, the unstoppable force against the immovable object, so to say. So it's going to be interesting. This game is essentially a pick-em. I mean, Tennessee's getting points here. Tennessee's at home, 52.5. I think is a little much. I understand Tennessee's defense is also it's not very good, but 52.5 is quite a bit in this game. I would look to maybe the under in that one. People are undervaluing unders at this point because at the beginning of the season, the overs were like hitting and flying over towards the beginning of the season. But ever since that Bears and Tampa Bay game on Thursday, the refs have been calling penalties. Like penalties have been up. And it seems to me basically that they took the first 4 weeks of the season to use as a preseason. And now starting last week in week 5, they're back to like really calling NFL games like legit. And to me, unders were 10-4 in week 6. So I really feel like this game is going to go under. I think a lot of these lines you can really take advantage of. A lot of these games that are in the 50s, you can take advantage of by betting the under, and there's a good chance it's going to hit because I think officiating is catching up to that. So in this game, it's really a pick 'em. It's depending on what you like. I'm going to take Tennessee in this game. They're getting the points. Ryan Tannehill looks like an MVP favorite. I put a little sprinkle down on Tannehill MVP futures earlier in the year because this man has been on a tear, and I was wrong about him. I didn't think he was going to be that great. He's really good. So he has completely changed his whole narrative since joining the Tennessee Titans. And last but not least, Green Bay Packers at Houston Texans. Green Bay here is getting a lot of value because the Houston Texans are a terrible football team, and Green Bay is only 3.5 favorites over the Texans. You're telling me that a man in Aaron Rodgers, was the MVP favorite before their loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and now it's only 3.5 over a horrid Houston Texans team? Like what sense is there in that? I don't see any sense there. Take the Packers. I think the Packers are going to come and they're going to have a bounce back game here. Aaron Rodgers threw 2 picks, and let me tell you, after Aaron Rodgers has a bad game, the next week typically he is absolutely unstoppable. And I feel like he's going to be this week because the Texans defense is bad against the pass, the run, against the everything. Aaron Jones should have a field day. Screen passes, probably going to have a field day in this game with Rodgers and Jones. Houston's 1-5. They're awful. Take Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in a bounce back game here. I think this line is going to get higher. So there's no question to me. You take them. And then another game in week 7 that I didn't include in this article because I didn't think it wasn't a game that you want to wait on this one. And you don't want to take an early line. But one that I was close to including is the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Because the Cardinals absolutely annihilated the Cowboys, right? Last night, Monday Night Football, which was a bad bet for me and a bad bet for a lot of people in the sports betting community because a lot of people were on the Cowboys in this game because personally to me, I didn't think there was going to be that much of a drop-off between Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton. I thought it wasn't going to be huge. Obviously, Dak is the better quarterback, but I didn't think it was going to be that significant. But yeah, it was significant. So to me, there's no question you take you take in this game. So Seattle is 3.5-point favorites over the Cardinals. Now, historically, when Seattle goes to Arizona, it's a really close game. And the Cardinals teams that have played in those close games were a lot worse than this one. Seattle is undefeated. I understand that at 5-0. But you're getting pretty good value here against the terrible Seahawks defense with the Arizona Cardinals. I know betting against Russell Wilson is just not something you should do. And I think this line could change dramatically here with that Cardinals blowout. So it could go down further. And I would definitely wait till it gets to a field goal. I would still take, if it gets to a field goal, I would take the Seahawks because I think that one win over a terrible Cowboys team isn't that significant for the Cardinals, who previously really hadn't looked amazing the previous couple weeks. So in this one, if it gets to a field goal, I'd take Seattle. Anything over that, though, I would consider the Cardinals, but wait up on this one. Don't take it as an early line. But it was one that I was thinking about including in this article because of the just Seattle and Arizona always play each other tight, especially in Arizona. So yeah, that's what I would do in that game. So yeah, that's the early lines for week 7. These are the games that I think really you should be taking a look at. Some of the lines that just some of them might not make sense. A lot of them might change to go in much further, especially Jaguars, Chargers. I mean, grab the Chargers as quickly as possible. The Jaguars are terrible. So yeah, that's some of the early lines. Make sure to tune in here because we're going to be making videos for you each day of the week with the articles that I come out with. So I'll be writing a teasers and pleasers article to get you set to bet on this week's teaser games. Some teasers I think will pay off. Last week I had a teaser leg. It was a 6-team teaser. I put some money down on, and lo and behold, I had the Cowboys at I brought them all the way up to 8.5, and they lost big time. What are you gonna do? But I got 5 out of the 6 teams right in there, that 6-team teaser, and the Cowboys blew it for me. So I wouldn't recommend doing big teasers like that, but 2 or 3 team teasers are definitely ones to look at. So we'll get that video out for you coming along with another article here shortly at Sports Mockery. Thank you all for tuning in today and listening, and have a great day, folks.